So, so build your money. Oh, and then everything else. Yeah, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, we've been having student issues with there. Particularly.
And then.
Honestly, it's sitting on
Right. Oh. We'll forget who you are. Sorry.
You all ready?
What's this?
Before we start tonight's meeting of the Brown County School Board on May 19th, 2020, please stand and pledge allegiance as you so desire. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I call this meeting to order at 6:34. Are there any modifications to the agenda? Thank you. At this time, we recognize visitors and comments from the audience on any topic not already on the agenda. Okay, no one signed in for that. And with that, we have our first presentation.
Mr. Austin and Ileana Cox were not able to be here this evening, so there will not be a presentation. Oh.
That me?
Yeah, are you going to present?
I mean, I can talk about it.
Sure.
Okay. I don't know that I have anything to present, but I can tell you about it. Ileana Cox is one of my amazing art students. She's a senior this year. She entered into this contest for the International Violin Competition. And the International Violin Competition is kind of known as the Olympics of the violin. It brings worldwide recognition to Indianapolis. And it started in 1982 to kind of mix together music and art and all of that. And so one of the components of it is a juried exhibition of student artwork. And this year, there were 21,000 submissions in grades 1 through 12. She was selected as one of the grand prize winners. Only 5 were selected from grades 11 and 12. She won an award. There's a plaque that's going to go up that's got a picture of her painting. She also got cards with her paintings on it, with her painting on it. And so she was one of only 5. She got an award from them, and she also earned a scholarship to the summer school Saturday art program at Heron up in Indianapolis. So she gets to go up there and practice and show them how amazing she is, because she's super awesome. So just recognizing her for that. And can you pass that around? I can, yeah. It's amazing. It's like this big, and we got it. She got it done just under the wire. We had to send it off on a Friday to get it there in time, and I literally took it to ship it while it was still drying. So, so she's very talented. She's won several other art awards in locally when I entered her stuff in different shows.
Well, that's fantastic, especially for James and Brent.
She's amazing. Yeah.
Well, I remember she won a grand prize for the duck
Yes,
contest in
yes.
junior high school.
She actually won the same contest in junior high school, and they used her painting from junior high school for all of their promotional materials. And that was what was sent to us this year. Her painting was in the promotional materials this year.
Cool.
So it's very, very cool. And her artwork will be part of a traveling exhibit of all of the winners for the next 3 years. And then she'll get it back. Yeah. Yeah, I wish she would be able to be here, but she wasn't able to. But I just can't say enough wonderful things about her. She's awesome.
Well, we need to make sure she gets to meet with him.
Yes. Yes. So when she can come, let's make sure we make another opportunity for her.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Next.
We have Chris Townsend and his team to present on the expansion of Eagle Manufacturing.
Preparing the tech. Give me a second here.
Oh, you just sit back there in the shadows, right? You doing your Vanna White impression?
I'm not gonna go.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say. I just don't know what it is.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm gonna stand over here so I don't get whiplash going back and forth. Oh, sorry. I don't know how to move that. Oh. And there we go. There we go. Sorry about that. All right, so just had a quick presentation tonight. So I wanted to go through a little bit about our Eagle manufacturing expansion that we've been working on here for a few months at this point, actually. So just wanted to hit on some key points. I'll have a lot of or plenty of time for questions at the end to kind of dive in and any details that you guys want, but maybe never works. Well, can't even get it to advance. This is what happens when you project on Zoom. Sorry. There we go. I'll just have to do it that way. That's right. So first question is why, I think. Why are we wanting to expand Eagle manufacturing? As far as space is concerned, we are currently in, I think most everybody here has at least been in it at some point. Worked okay for when we started, and it's worked less okay as we've grown and got more students into the program and expanded the things that we do as a part of Eagle manufacturing. So we have a lot of equipment and space that is really separate from one another that really should be in the same space to allow us to use it a lot more efficiently. We do not have room for any more expansion. I've taken as much space as I could possibly grab from everywhere around us without getting space in other part of the building. And we also have some supervision limitations because of that. So we have 4 or 5 different spaces that students can be in at any given time, which presents some supervision issues from time to time. As far as from the student perspective, why would we do this? It's going to allow us to give them more real world experiences, bring in some different types of equipment and different technology. It's going to allow us to arrange things a little more efficiently, so it's more similar to a real world production environment. So a lot more real world experiences, and probably more importantly is it's going to allow us to greatly increase the number of students that participate in Eagle manufacturing on a yearly basis. So at the very least doubling from where we currently are, if not more than that, long term especially. And then also it's going to allow us to, the expansion of Eagle manufacturing allows us to utilize the space we currently have in the high school here for engineering a little bit better and give us some more space to do more things within the engineering program. And it's also going to allow us to expand our construction program and do some more higher level work within that construction program. Sorry, I'm gonna jump over here. So and I know Mr. Austin presented about this a few weeks ago or a couple months ago, or time flies, I'm not sure how long ago it was, to be honest. But these are all the programs to study at the high school that are affected potentially by the Eagle manufacturing expansion. The construction program I already talked about. We have 3 courses over the course of 3 years that students can participate in that program. That will be potential or expanded as a result of the Eagle manufacturing expansion. Gives us some more space here to spread out construction and do more with it. Our engineering program, which is 4-year program, will be able to utilize some of the space that is currently taken up with Eagle manufacturing equipment that isn't used for engineering, and utilize that space more effectively. And then the principles of precision machining, digital design, and business administration are all pathways that lead directly into Eagle manufacturing. So that allows us, the expansion also allows us to teach those principles courses outside of the space we currently use, which is used for engineering courses. So we have issues with overlapping. Needing to teach an engineering course at the same time as a principles course causes a lot of issues with scheduling and other things. So that alleviates a lot of those issues. And then once again, allows us to get more students into these pathways as a part of that expansion. So that's kind of the why. The how and where is, or the how I should say, is mostly due to a community donor who came in and wanted to help Brown County Schools, and we put forth a proposal to the community donor or potential donor at the time for this expansion and all the good things that I've talked about, and I'll talk a little more about here in a minute, that allow us to do for our students. So that's a big reason of or how we're going to be able to do this. And then also we're going to be utilizing pretty much all the equipment we have now. We'll be moving to the new space. So that saves us a lot of potential expenditures on new equipment. So we will be moving a lot of that. And also using an existing space that we have in the district and one that is currently unused, which is that red box up there on the screen. For reference, high school is up there on the north side of the parking lot. And then that is the kind of mid-ish section of the former intermediate school. Directly to the right of it is the gym, and directly to the left is where the current CRC is currently located. So that space in between where the CRC is and where the gymnasium is what we're looking at expanding into. This is what that is going to look like. I have a little more detailed one here on the next slide here in a second. But we currently have the library taking up 2 of these rooms. I guess the elementary library that they use to house all those materials that go out to the elementary schools. That's currently actually taking the 2 rooms in the bottom are the southwest corner. We're going to be moving one of those across, so they're kind of across from each other in the space there. And then we're going to be taking these 6 classrooms, 3 on the north side, 3 on the south side, to the right of where those spaces are. And that will be converted into what you see here, which is our manufacturing lab on the south side. Our admin lab there, kind of within the manufacturing lab, our graphics lab on the northeast side, and then our shipping, receiving, and inventory area. They're kind of in the northwest corner. This is what it, and I know, obviously, no, you can't read any of this, but this is what it looks like with actual equipment in the space. This has what the layout will roughly be with all the work tables and equipment and all the different things that will be going into the space. This is approximately what it'll look like. Currently working on figuring all that and getting all that finalized, but that's kind of the rough layout of what it'll look like. So. And the big benefits here, as I mentioned earlier, increased CTE course enrollment for students in Brown County Schools, increase real world relevant experiences for students in Brown County Schools, increase the number of students who are prepared for careers in this region. There's a lot of need in Brown County and around Brown County in our region for these types of jobs and the experience that they get. Potentially decrease or definitely decrease numbers of students going to C4 for similar types of programs. So they're keeping most of our machining students, for example, here in Brown County versus having them have to travel to C4. And then also giving students more of a reason to come to school and engage in their education. So it's a real, I know most of you have been down to Eagle Manufacturing, so you've seen what it's like, what the students do and how they react or interact with the program. And we're just excited to be able to get more students involved and more students engaged in their education. So I'm happy to take any questions.
I do. Okay, so what is needing to be done to fix up the space to accommodate what you're going to do plus whatever expansion?
Sure. So it's mostly, there's not a whole lot of structural changes that have to be made. There are some walls that have to be moved, but they're all drywall, so it's minimal. Most of it is honestly cosmetic and just rearranging the space. There will be some HVAC upgrades that need to be made to that space as well to accommodate the new equipment and the number of students. But the big chunk of it is just reconfiguring and updating and making everything look like it belongs there and suiting it for the equipment that we have, putting in compressed air system, electrical requirements, ventilation, all that kind of stuff.
And plus some, did I understand you were saying some additional equipment?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah. Initially, we're working mostly to get the construction done, and so we can get over there. But long term, yes, adding some more capabilities via new equipment.
What kinds of things will you be able to do? I mean, like, I know that you just added like screen printing and some other things. Like, what are some of the types of things you anticipate adding?
So more advanced capabilities in manufacturing. So allowing students to be able to learn and experience higher level manufacturing processes. So as an example, part of the plan is to add a new CNC mill that has 5-axis capabilities, which is a much more advanced level of programming and knowledge to be able to do that. That frankly doesn't really happen in high school ever. Very, very few high schools do that. Adding our automatic capabilities for screen printing. So still doing manual screen printing, traditional screen printing, but also adding the ability to do automatic screen printing press. So we can do set up and run larger runs of shirts and things like that. And just in general, increasing our volume that we can do because of the space, in addition to the more students throughout the day.
And then as far as the staffing, I know you and Dean are
Mhm.
obviously the prior staff, and I know we were working on one other staff member. How many more staff are we gonna need to add, or is that gonna be it?
Well, we have Mr. McGill on the agenda tonight, and then we're talking about potential adding on to cover some other courses as well, and we're kind of working through what that might be. It's we've had a big demand for sign up for our courses for next year for our principals courses in those pathways, so more than we anticipated. So we're needing to accommodate more students than we thought we would have to for next year, so we're working through that.
I'm just saying, you're saying doubling the number of students,
Yeah.
which as a teacher means
Yes.
to be more staff. How do we accommodate that?
So the majority of that is covered with bringing on our third instructor to be able to take off of my plate some of those introduction to engineering classes, and then take off Mr. Kiefauer's plate some of the intro construction courses.
Okay.
That's where we get a lot of that capacity. And then we're working on ways to maybe fill in a little bit more potentially as well.
I don't think any decisions have been made until we know exactly how many kiddos are going in.
Right, I understand, but when I hear, I see this, you've got this big facility, you're talking about supervision, of course.
Sure.
That's really important as well.
Yeah, and as a part of that plan, it's been designed in such a way that it's much easier for a single teacher to be able to supervise the entire space versus what we have now. So for example, our screen printing lab that you mentioned is in its own like old conference room. So it's literally like around a hall with no windows or anything. And in this space, in that, if you go back forward one more, Mr. Jones. Thank you. In that admin lab there, the advisor's desk is kind of like right there on the hallway in front of a window. So from that desk, you can see essentially the entire manufacturing lab, the entire graphics lab. And then if you walk out the door, you can see the shipping and receiving area. So it's not perfect, but it's much, much easier to be able to see the entire space and give more supervision. And honestly, at this point, when students are going to be working on their own, they've been through a principal's class and they know how we operate. So they don't last long if they're not gonna, you know what I mean? If they're not in the program and there for the right reasons.
So you'll be putting windows then in the hallway
Yep.
so that you can see, even though it's across the hallway.
Yeah, so yeah, all those that Mr. Kiefauer's pointing out are windows, those in the hallways, there are windows. So any of those darker areas are all windows, open windows.
Yeah, that makes a big difference.
Yes, oh, it absolutely does, yes. It's a huge difference compared to what we're doing right now. I have zero windows anywhere, even to the outside. I'm like an old person, so.
Chris, did any of your existing students participate in the design of the new facility?
Absolutely. We had ideas about what we wanted to do and, because we knew things we were gonna add that they weren't aware of, but this was something where, like, for example, our shipping and receiving area, I brought in our current shipping and receiving manager and we sat down and had a discussion about what would be best to put where and what would make the most sense for the space. Sat down with our graphics manager and talked through the layout. Even she was one who made some changes to it that I didn't even think about oddly enough, about supervision. Because originally we had the desks facing the hallway, like the advisor's desks are across the hall, and she was like, I won't be able to see anybody and like monitor. So turning them sideways, for example, to be able to actually see while she's working, types of things. So little things like that I didn't even think about. They definitely contributed for sure.
I know when I visited, it seemed like you had a large population of seniors participating, so you're going to have how large turnover in the manufacturing?
We have about 12 seniors right now. We have about 23 in the program. It's about half and half from this year to next year. And we have about 12 coming in-ish for next year. And then the year after, that's when we start ramping up, so.
And then when we had that discussion, your target was to try and move the program further in where you get earlier participation. Is that part of this next curriculum in 2023, or is that something that's going to happen later?
Definitely for next year. So those principles courses that I was talking about as part of that pathway will get the students in the pathway to Eagle Manufacturing, either as a freshman or a sophomore. And then our Eagle Manufacturing as well at the middle school is going to help feed students into that program in addition to those principles courses. So that is all those principles courses are being implemented next year. Well, we have one this year or two, but we're adding the design course next year as well.
And I guess the last question I have is from the donor that you had, is the donor donation enough to cover just the reconstruction or the construction that you have to do, or is there funds left over to acquire new equipment, or?
Currently, the commitment is for construction and getting the space up to where we need it to be, and then we're working on other means for the equipment and potentially also from the donor as well. But we're working on that. Yes, sir.
You said it would cut down on the number of students going through this C4.
Yes.
Will they cut it in half?
I don't have the numbers off the top of my head for the number of students going to C4 right now. I can say the big advantage of that for students is that they lose, I think it's at least a period a day for travel time back and forth. So keeping them here allows them to take more classes, not only ours, but also other classes here as well that they don't lose out on. But I do not have the numbers off the top of my head, sorry. Oh, sorry.
Is the donor anonymous or
Currently, yes.
do you have a price tag for what?
We're currently in figuring that out. Okay. We do not have a number at the moment.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much for that presentation.
No problem.
Yes. Thank you,
No problem.
David. for
Thank you guys,
running the
appreciate
show.
it.
Thank you, Chris and Dean.
And, you know, Dean, I have my eye on Dean. don't you worry.
I can't see him, but thank you.
Oh, that was actually easy.
We have physical copies of our presentation.
It wasn't for me.
So, do you know that Taylor's mother's birthday is May 24th?
Congratulations. Thank you. Why do you know that?
Her mother and my son
Thank you.
they used to dance together.
Oh.
So the little outfit that your mom is in the polka dots with the hat, that's my son. And I remember it because it's my dad's birthday. There we go.
Alrighty, so to begin with, I just want to thank the board for taking the time to hear about our presentation and to hear about this project that the three of us have been working on for the past year. So for those of you who don't know, my name is Marie Fields and I'm a senior and I am the student coordinator for the Brown County Pop Festival. Taylor is our assistant coordinator. She is a freshman. And then of course, Ms. Billings is our staff coordinator. So our project this year was called the Brown County Pop Festival, and POP stands for Pursuing Our Purpose. So the POP Festival is a part of the Bezos Scholars Program, which Ms. Billings and I were selected to participate in about a year ago. The Bezos Scholars Program, this is a year-long leadership program for high school seniors and their partnered educators. It's funded by the Bezos Family Foundation. And yes, the Bezos, like Jeff Bezos, his parents. 12 student/educator teams are chosen from across the United States every year. And one team of 5 students is chosen from the African Leadership Academy in Johannesburg, South Africa. And the purpose of the Bezos Scholars Program is to develop a community change project or a local ideas festival, as they call it, based on an identified community need. So when Ms. Billings and I sat down, kind of over the summer, and we were brainstorming what we wanted our local ideas festival to be about, we had so many different topics that we could have chosen from, and it was very hard to narrow it down to just one. But I kind of related it back to my personal experiences growing up in rural Indiana. I've always had really, really big dreams. As you can see here, when I was in 8th grade, I wanted to be a Supreme Court justice. And that was a trip that Mrs. Oliver and I went on for History Day. So I've always had really big dreams, but I kind of found myself having little resources because of the community that I grew up in, especially because I'm a first-generation college student and I'm from a low-income household. And one thing that I also noticed throughout my high school experience is there's definitely a pipeline between our Brown County graduates and low-wage local jobs right after high school with little opportunity for career advancement.
Yeah, so taking Marie's personal experience, we kind of took that as a starting point and then brought that to our students and our staff to see if there was a larger need there. So our Students for Equity group that already existed held a workshop at one of their meetings where students kind of brainstormed based on that prompt that you see, young people in Brown County need, and gave us some of their responses. And then we also sent out a teacher and staff survey to have some input from the perspective of the people who are here to support our students, what they see our students needing in order to have a successful, post-secondary future. So based on those two things, we kind of identified that there was a sense of apathy when thinking about future planning amongst our young people. And so what did they need to overcome that? And we came up with this list that our students kind of brought us to of empowerment, opportunity, motivation, direction, and hope. And so all of that's kind of tying together into the larger concept of purpose. What they're needing is purpose.
So this project's vision statement was that Brown County High School will be a learning community where all students feel empowered to pursue current and future educational and career opportunities that align with their purpose and aspirations. And then our mission statement was to connect students with post-secondary opportunities through workshops and resources that align with their own passions and purpose, so that they have a broader variety of options to consider after their high school career.
So in our initial, phases of the planning process, we partnered first with our building administration with Mr. Austin and Mr. Hutchins and our master teachers and academy leaders to kind of tell them what our idea was and what we were thinking about. We also brought on Mrs. Wrightson and the CRC and our registrar, Mrs. Pruitt, as kind of our like adult team support team to help us through that.
And we also had a magnificent core team of about 11 underclassmen. There we are, this is a cute little picture of us on the day of our festival. We met once a week and they really helped us with student engagement, facilitating our purpose sessions, which we'll hear about in just a minute, and set up / tear down on the day of the festival, as well as providing a wide and diverse range of students' perspectives on the development of our festival.
Yeah, so to fund the festival, the Bezos Family Foundation gives each educator and scholar pair seed money of $1,000. And that is funding that's renewable annually for the life cycle of your local Ideas Festival. And then we were fortunate enough to have some additional funding through our BCS High Ability Grant Program. Thank you. And so the majority of our budget, as you can see there, was spent on supplies for the festival, marketing supplies, actual supplies we needed for the day of the festival, as well as shirts for our volunteers. One of the other major costs was the cost of the purpose development pilot session we did with an organization called NXU. And then also, right, anytime you have a big event, you have to feed people. So there was also food involved for our presenters, our volunteers, and our teachers that assisted us that day.
So essentially, the pop festival was broken into two parts. So the first part was our purpose discovery, and that took place throughout 4 weeks in the month of April. And then the second part is our big college and career fair and empowerment workshops, which took place during school hours on April 28th. So for purpose discovery, in collaboration with an organization that Ms. Billings and I were connected to through the Bezos program, NXU, we wanted to provide our students with a curriculum that really focuses on 4 different key components of developing your purpose. So your identity, your strengths, your interests, and your passions. And our hope was that by our students exploring these things, they will have a bit more of self-reflection and direction and an idea of what they want to pursue now and after high school. So essentially, before we presented this curriculum to our students, on March 22nd, we had like an initial purpose training session with our core team, with our master and our mentor teachers, as well as some of our administrators with NXU via Zoom. And then we implemented that curriculum over the course of 4 weeks. So our students met in the cafeteria during SRT. The freshmen met on Mondays, the sophomores met on Tuesdays, et cetera, et cetera. On week 1, that was kind of our introduction to purpose. And they also explored the concept of identities. Week 2, we explored our interests and our passions. Week 3, we did a strengths assessment survey. And then week 4, every student developed a purpose statement, which Ms. Billings will get to in a minute. And kind of our incentive that we tried to get our students to recognize was that taking the time to reflect on what they want to do after life is obviously really beneficial, but also each SRT per grade that had the highest rate of turn-in for their purpose exercises received sugar cake barbecue on the day of. So
Nothing like your consent, right?
yeah.
So a purpose statement, just so you have an idea of what our amazing young people came up with as a part of this. So it's something that ties together identity factors that matter to you with your strengths, your interests and passions, and how you will use those things to meet a need in the world. So these were just a few purpose statements taken from our students. And you can see they do all follow, right? We provide them with that template and that structure. So for example, that first one, as a strong, outgoing woman. So there's the identity pieces she connects with. My purpose in life is to use my ability to console and communicate with others, combined with my love of helping people, to be a paramedic. Right? Yeah, so we had some very specific ones, and then we have some broader ones too. Our next one is helping others to coexist and talk and discuss peacefully. I love the third one. As a motivator, leader, and athlete, my purpose in life is to use my ability to communicate and be a leader, combined with my love of sports, psychology, and family, to create a better environment for the Brown County Athletic Program. So yeah.
So after they spent 4 weeks creating their purpose, the College and Career Fair helped them connect their purpose. It gave them the chance to connect their purpose to any life things that will help them later in life. And during their lunchtime, there were 30 vocational schools, colleges, and employers set up, including Brown County High School alumnus, Evan Fraser, Jasmine Innings, and Leighton and Bailey Mosier. Sorry.
They're on the screen.
And then the other part of the day, they participated in empowerment workshops, which they chose from 15 options that fall into 3 categories: information, finance, and self-care. And on your handout, you can see a list of facilitators, workshops, and all of the different exhibitors that were at the
Can you go back just one slide? So to clarify, they had 15 workshop choices. They chose 5 for the day. So each student had an individualized schedule of 5 workshops of their choice, and then also had an hour to explore the College and Career Fair.
So after our festival, we had about 176 purpose statements turned in, and we had about 368 students attend the festival on April 28th. So in general, we received some pretty positive student feedback in terms of the college and career fair. We sent out this survey like about a week after the big festival, and our students said that they wish that there was a bit more representation at the college and career fair in terms of trades, arts, culinary schools, health fields, and volunteer organizations, as well as private colleges. And in terms of the workshops, everyone seems to really enjoy them, but they wish that they could hear directly from college students and also have more art-based skills represented in the workshops that we offered. And the purpose development, the students wished that it was more spread out over the course of the entire year rather than all at once, in the month of April. And they also wanted more context as to why living a purpose-driven life was important and why we were advocating for things that we were advocating for. In terms of our staff feedback, again, they wish that our festival was earlier on in the year to avoid AP prep conflicts, and they wish that it was more spread out rather than over the course of about a month. We had several staff members say that they wanted to be trained in the purpose development so that they could help their students directly. And some staff members said that they wished our festival was more inclusive for our students with learning and mobility differences. In terms of our workshop facilitators, they were very impressed with the logistics of our festival and our communication. Several of them said that they wished they had something like this when they were in high school, and they are very happy to engage with our students in future years.
Yeah, and so as far as sustainability goes, as I mentioned earlier, we have continued funding from the Bezos Family Foundation should this festival continue. We also are in the process as a district of, well, I know it's been submitted, our 3E grant to the State Department of Education. And so, and Christy Reitzman has written into that grant some of the costs of the expanded purpose opportunity curriculum, as well as funds to train staff on that curriculum so that we can utilize that more effectively. And then additionally, in our second year, we would also like to look at getting some corporate sponsors and private donors to help fund expanding the festival and possibly creating some scholarships that are attached to the festival for students that attend the festival. And then, you want to talk about student budget?
Okay, so for future growth, for future growth, we are really hoping to expand this program more. And as for our purpose sessions, we are, it's really for the pending approval of the 3E grant. And we're adopting like the purpose curriculum with NXU. And we are hoping to, in the future, train 6 staff members to be proficient in the curriculum and support other like smaller classroom teachers. For our college and career fair part of it, it is our goal next year to have 50 exhibitors and more volunteer organizations so that students can also participate in that. And then more representation in fields, in the different fields, as Marie stated earlier. And for student involvement, we've already had a ton of students say that they would like to be in this next year. And on that survey we sent out, a lot of people have already signed up.
We are very grateful, for Brown County School Administration to give us the opportunity to, implement this festival. It's something that is very near and dear to my heart and has been a really great way to end my senior year. I wish that I would have had the opportunity to do this my freshman year and continue to do it all throughout high school. Ms. Billings and I really like this quote, and we think that it kind of encompasses our entire festival. FDR states, "We cannot always build a future for our youth, but we can build a youth for our future." And I'm really excited to see what Brown County does with the Pop Festival after I graduate. Thank you. We are open to any questions.
Very nice.
I don't have a question, but I have a statement. I deeply appreciate the inclusivity comment from the staff feedback with students with needs, making sure that their needs are being met during this festival. So then on a personal.
I just want to tell you all that I am so incredibly proud of you. I am excited to see it also what the future looks like and how this is going to grow into even bigger outcomes for our kids. So thank you.
And I think if you can get the freshmen, that end of the spectrum a lot sooner, then that really promotes a lot of other things along the chain. As I think about back my days in the high school, and so I wish I had some exposure to certain things. I wouldn't have not changed my mind what I ended up doing, but I just think it would have been a lot nicer to have that exposure, but I didn't have that. Thank you so much, Amy.
Well, I like that you saw community need and a school need, because this is something that we have been missing for a long time. And I really like to see that, and I like to see your energy about it, that it isn't like, oh, we have to do this. It's like, this is exciting. This is what we ought to be doing. And I have often, I've always been pushing. You guys can say this because I had you both in 7th grade, but like always looking outside of Brown County. We have to not be, and even outside of Indiana, we have to not always be like, oh, I can go to Ivy Tech. Ivy Tech's a great place, but we need to be expanding our horizons and getting kids to understand there's a lot of things out there that they can do. But if they're never exposed to it, then they're not going to understand those opportunities. And so how can we make that real for them? And I think you've done a really great job of like putting all that together and saying, I have a goal in life and this is how I'm going to achieve it. Sure.
I just want to add on to that too, though. I think a big part of this and intention of this is to help our students understand that they can live in purpose here and they can have an impact on their community here too. So as much as we want to open doors and all of those things, we want them to realize some of those doors can lead to here and you can make a change here.
Well, and that leads very much into manufacturing, right? So
Yeah.
it is all of those things that we're really putting together and really focusing on the future. So I think that's great. So
I'm incredibly proud of this student team. So like, it's a treat to work with them. Thanks, Debbie.
Ladies and Christy, as you well know, you don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting.
I'm thinking that's good.
Next, we have discussion items, and there are none. Next, we have approval of public session minutes dated May 5th, 2022. Do I have a motion? Okay. Second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Carol,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
Vicky,
Yes.
Stephanie.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. And next is action needed items.
At the recommendation to approve the 2022-2023 elementary student handbook.
Do you have a motion to approve the elementary student handbook for 22-23?
Also move.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Carol,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
Vicky,
Yes.
Stephanie.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next.
I have the recommendation to approve the modified lease agreement between Brown County Schools and Human Services Incorporated to additionally include the leasing of room 118A as office space with an increase in rent from $800 a month to $900 a month, beginning the 31st of May, 2022 through the 30th of May, 2024.
Do you have a motion to approve the modified lease agreement between Brown County School Corporation and Human Services as presented?
I so move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
This is the lease agreement with Head Start going over to ESC, and we just needed to add office space.
So
that
I
is the
thought
only
we
change.
approved that last month.
We
right?
did,
Yeah.
we needed to amend it to include an office space, which changed the price per month.
But the space was already there.
Yes.
Okay. So we didn't have to reconfigure.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Carol,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
Vicky,
Yes.
Stephanie.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next.
I have the recommendation of approval of a non-standard course for human anatomy at Brown County Middle School.
Do you have a motion to approve the non-standard course for human anatomy at the middle school?
I'll second.
Second? Any discussion? Why are we having a non-standard course?
There is a waiver by the DOE that we have to have, they've changed the law that we have to have now board approved for us to be able to teach human anatomy at the middle school level. So in order for us to be able to upload the waiver to the DOE for a 3-year, we have to have it board approved.
And the reason I'm smiling, being that I'm in the healthcare business, yeah, okay.
And is that gonna be, is that part of Project Lead the Way with Mr. Roush, or is?
No.
No,
It's
it's
just
just a
science.
separate science class? Because we just really don't have a lot of science elective, so it would be just an elective.
Yes.
All right. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Carol,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
Vicky,
Yes.
Stephanie.
Yes.
Motion carries, thank you. Next.
I have the recommendation to approve the retirement notice of Susie Watson effective at the conclusion of the 2021-2022 school year.
A motion to approve the retirement notice for Susan Watson at the end of this school year 21-22.
Thanks, David. I'll second.
Any discussion?
How long has Susie been with us?
Not quite 10 years, but she was here, left, and then came back. Yeah, the last stint was like 5 years, so.
Well, happy retirement. to
Yes.
Miss Susie. Roll call.
Carol,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
Vicky,
Yeah.
Stephanie.
Yes.
Motion carries, thank you.
I have the recommendation to accept the donation of $1,500 for National History Day Award and Teacher of the Year Awards from Brown County Community Foundation.
Do you have a motion to accept the donation of $1,500 for National History Day as presented?
Second.
Any discussion? Thank you so very much, the Brown County Foundation.
Are these, I know the Teacher of the Year Award, what is the History Day Award? Do you know anything about it?
I do not, and Mr. Austin is not here to
That's
report out, so I
Is it-
can give you an update.
That would just be new. I mean, so I'm not aware of us doing that. I was History Day sponsor at the middle school. So.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Carol,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
Vicky,
Yes.
Stephanie.
Motion carries, thank you.
I have the recommendation to accept the donation of $500 to the Brown County High School football program from Big Woods.
Do you have a motion to accept the donation from Big Woods of $500 for the football program at the high school?
I so did.
Second,
I'll second.
any discussion?
Does it have to be used for anything specific, or?
It says on the request, they have no specifications on how to use it, is for whatever the program they need,
Okay.
or within the football program.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Carol,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
Vicky,
Yes.
Stephanie.
Yes.
Motion carries, thank you.
I have the recommendation to approve the donation of $800 to the Brown County High School girls softball program from UCA Distributing.
You have a motion to accept the donation from UCA distributing of $800 to the high school softball girls program.
I so moved.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Yippee.
It says it's to pay for spirit wear. Made by Eagle Manufacturing.
It's nice.
Roll call.
Carol,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
Vicky,
Yes.
Stephanie.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Yes.
Okay.
We have consent agenda items. We'll start with the separation of Brown County Middle School Master Teacher Cindy Stark, effective at the conclusion of the 2021-2022 school year through the transfer of Brown County High School Junior Varsity Baseball Coach Jacob Reel to Brown County High School Assistant Varsity Baseball Coach, effective May 19th, 2022. This is a replacement for Bryce Boyer.
Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda item as presented with the separation of Brown County Middle School Master Teacher Cindy Stark at the end of the school year 21-22, and ending the transfers of the high school JV baseball coach Jacob, I can't say his name, to the high school assistant varsity coach effective May 19, 22.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? I'm happy to see Randy Veneer back. He's doing better to be able to help out. And with that, roll call.
Carol,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
Vicky,
Yeah.
Stephanie.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next is superintendent report.
Yes, tonight the update report is short. I just wanted to give an update to the COVID numbers. We have seen an increase in positive COVID cases for staff and students. I believe since May 4th, we have a total of 9 students and 6 staff members that have tested positive, with a total of 15 positive cases. You can find our current symptomatic percentages on our website for each building. And then tonight, I just want to thank everybody for coming and presenting the great work that our kids and our staff are doing and planning to carry out the vision for Brown County Schools. Chris Townsend and Dave Kiefhofer, I cannot thank you enough for your big vision and trying to find the yes always. So thank you. And then Andy and Ileana Cox, it's pretty incredible to receive an honor like that and to see that talent. So I'm proud of her and her teachers. And then of course, Christy Billings, Marie and Taylor for all of their work and efforts for the Pop Festival at Brown County this year. And then, my goodness, when we meet again, the school year will be officially over for our staff and students. And I just want to thank everybody, from our kids to our staff to the entire school community for an incredible first year for me at Brown County Schools. I will truly treasure 2021, 2022, and it will forever have a stamp in my memory book. So thank you to the board. It's been a lot of fun.
You know, I want to add a comment to your superintendent's report. This week, there was an award ceremony for the life skills and special needs students, which has been done several years in a row, except for the pandemic, which is not actually done in a lot of school systems, which I attended for the second time that I was able to attend. And it is a wonderful program done by Barbara Kelp, who is a wonderful teacher and leader in that department. And it was really great to see those students and their families here being acknowledged for their gains for the last school year. And I just wanted to make sure that that got mentioned. Thank you. And with that, do I have a motion to accept the claims as presented?
I so move.
Second,
I'll second.
any discussion? Roll call.
Carol,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
Vicky,
Yes.
Stephanie.
Yes.
Motion carries. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Thank you all for coming. And that, all those in favor say aye.